let's take a moment real quick to jump into some breaking news right now. As we know, going to air, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed at the age of 87. This was a huge shock moments ago, and I'm still in shock. She has championed so many initiatives that have affected marginalized groups of people, in addition to gender rights, equal equality, and for us to lose such a lioness, as they're calling her, the notorious RBG, it's a loss for America, but she rests in power. Absolutely.
I have to commend Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg on fighting the good fight. I think her first cancer surgery dated back to 1999. And more recently, she battled lung cancer and then pancreatic cancer that metastasized is eventually what caused her death. And I'm always in awe of her prowess, how influential she has been to not only the Supreme Court, but to our American culture as a lawmaker. So rest in peace and prayers to her family.
Erica, I echo that. As a woman who has really, she's always been that one voice that wasn't afraid to take the other justices to task on initiatives and on issues that needed to be seen from a very impartial light, right? There's people swing to the right heavily, especially now, and they swing to the left very heavily. She was always in the middle, but always in the middle for what was on the right side of the American people. So, right before an election,
I'm going to second that. That sounds really well said, Jason. I'm going to go with what you said. That sounds good.
Thank you, Dylan. Well, again, it's a loss for the American people. But moving into other news this week. Representation's important, right, guys? That's been what we've been talking about in Hollywood, or just in the zeitgeist for like the last 5 years, especially since Oscars So White. Representation on television is something that we want to see more of. But when you guys are watching TV, are we seeing that happen, or is it just a talk track that Hollywood's spitting at us to shut us up? What do you guys think?
I mean, I'll jump in and say, I think that there are powers that be who really want to move the needle more towards diversity on television, and hopefully too in the boardrooms. But I think we need a complete overhaul of the entertainment system, if you will. We need a complete overhaul on how we depict people of color. So I think there are always little steps in the right direction, but we're not quite there yet. I always appreciate a good nod to progression, but what I would really appreciate is a full-fledged, we're just going to go all the way there. We're going to throw everything against the wall. We're really going to give brown and black and, LGBTQ people their due when it comes to television. I don't think we've done full justice.
Erica, what's an example of how you would be proud of the way Hollywood's reacting? Do you have an example? Well, I think it's worth starting by saying the fact that John Leguizamo is not featured more on screen and in Hollywood and starring in shows and movies constantly is the injustice that needs to be spoken on first, because he is amazing. Like, he is amazing. We are all better off when he is working more, and I'm sure he's working a lot. Just because he's not in every big show, every big movie, doesn't mean he's not working. So he's fantastic. He's always working. But absolutely, we're in 2020. When we're watching something on TV, if it's taking place in the present day, it should absolutely reflect what the reality of our world looks like. With that said, I personally notice, and I have a big distaste for, when you realize, oh, they're just like putting that person there to like get their numbers. I think the purity of the role and the project above all. Now, ideally, it's reflective of the time, so everyone is going to be represented. Trying to force it down, then it stands out as like something you're trying to do inorganically. I'm not a fan of that, but I do think that everyone needs to make an effort to make their work representative of what 2020 looks like. And going back to what you said, Erica, John Leguizamo says, the executives, they just don't get us. And that's totally true. That's where it is. Because when you're pitching something, of course, an executive is taking the audience into account, of course. But at the end of the day, they are subconsciously going to connect with projects that they recognize themselves in. So I do think that's a big part of it as well. Yes, yes.
Person of any
Right.
color, any creed, any nationality, any sexual orientation, and even now watching Grays, you have an LGBTQ plus couple, you have a Muslim character. That's why shows like that exist. But yet these networks they're not picking up what we're putting down, and
I think what you said is great. Is like characters, unless it's imperative for the role, it's all ethnicities. The best person gets the job, and just go from there.
I want to jump in. I think if we lived in a perfect society where Black, Indigenous, Latinx people, LGBTQ always got an opportunity to be that best person who got the job, then yeah, I'm all game for that. But we actually live in a society where oftentimes the people who are marginalized or come from marginalized groups don't get an opportunity to show that they are the best person to get the job. So I guess I'm saying, I guess essentially, like I am for diversity and pushing diversity, even when it seems out of place. Now, do I want every Black person or every brown person or every LGBTQ person to be depicted in a stereotypical negative fashion? Absolutely
no.
not. But
Right.
what I do want is marginalized groups, actors, actresses to be able to get into the room for roles that they might not typically be able to get in the room for. And I want to piggyback on John Leguizamo. So when I was growing up, here's a personal anecdote. My mom and dad, when we would watch pageants, Miss America, Miss USA, Miss Universe, if there was not a Black woman who made the top 10, we couldn't watch it anymore. My parents were they were tied to the idea that we don't want our children to watch programming that doesn't show that they too can achieve their dreams. And when I read that about John Leguizamo, it really hit home to me that, I don't blame him for boycotting, because why would I go support a program that continually and be proud of yourself?
Has transpired in 2020 within the last 90 days, people are no longer afraid, or they're no longer afraid to risk it all for the greater good of the collective, right? Moving into representation and people risking it all, John Boyega, we know, of course, with the Black Lives Matter movement, was in London protesting and said openly that he might not have a career after protesting in in solidarity and standing in solidarity for Black Lives Matter. And I bring up John Boyega because we speak about representation. He was the current ambassador for Jo Malone, which is a fragrance company, a global fragrance company that was purchased by Estee Lauder in 2006. Now, John had written and directed a commercial for an aftershave for this brand. Went global, of course, but then only in China did they replace him with an Asian actor to have the ad ran in Chinese markets and Asian markets. This didn't sit well with John, and he resigned as being an ambassador for the brand. Now, my question is back to representation. If John isn't of Asian descent, should he still stay in the commercial for the brand that is running in Asian markets? I mean,
like a very specific case. To be honest, I don't even have all the facts, but it's very touchy with China because they have their own rules of legislation and regulations. The fact that like people are getting on top of like LeBron and the NBA for ignoring these things, and there's a whole different thing as far as China goes. So it's not just about Asian market; it's like racism in China and specifically. But I think overall, even though that's definitely an important topic, the article specifically and the storyline, it's just about like professionalism and communication and not being rude. And this is someone who put his blood, sweat, and tears into a project, and then without even telling him you're going to replace him. I guarantee you, if this was something that was spoken of at the jump, and they said, John, you know, we love you. You are going to be featured in 141 of the 142 territories around the world, but with China, we just can't do it. They don't allow people of color in campaigns. I'm you know what? I'm sure he would consider that. It was open. It was explained to him, and he wants his project to go well. The fact that it was like a secret and they did it without telling, that's the shady stuff.
Mm. I was going to say, so as an actress, I know firsthand oftentimes when I audition for a commercial, for example, there is a Spanish market ad that is being filmed and broadcast, and then there's the North American version of that same ad. But what makes this different and very sinister is that John Boyega actually created this ad, and the people in the ad are his family members and they're his friends. And culturally, this ad depicts his lifestyle. So it's to film two different versions of a commercial to cater to different markets. It's another thing to appropriate someone's culture and then take that person who created the ad out of the advertisement to cater to a different market. So now having the conversation about whether or not we need to create different commercials to cater to different, ethnic backgrounds, that's another conversation. But for this conversation, you cannot take someone's cultural experiences, someone's property, someone's family and experiences, and then take them out, insert Asian person. That's problematic. Right.
that talent is abused. We are directly and indirectly abused in Hollywood. Yet,
In general, communicate in 2020 is an issue. They feel like they could just like do that without telling the guy that you've been working with, like that's just like indicative of today. You know, people do things without confronting each other. They take the easy way out. They were one step away from just texting him and being like, by the way, bro, you're not in this one. And it's like, just you know, be face to face, be transparent with people. I think that's really the key for everyone, no matter what business you're in. It's like pick up the phone or get together and be upfront about things. Yeah, he's got plenty of money anyway. It's all good.
I'm an elder millennial, so I'm supposed to be in the age group that really, really cares. And I do have a TikTok account, but you can go ahead and okay boomer me because I did not have the time to learn it. I feel like the interface wasn't very intuitive, but I do care about the government trying to ban TikTok in the United States because I think it sets a very dangerous precedent for other companies, international companies, to take action against American companies in the future. So I don't care because I'm a huge TikToker, but I care because our place on the global market is going to be adversely affected by this ban if it actually goes through in November.
Um, here's what I think. I think anyone who wants to be on TikTok already has it. This announcement might make those second guessers download it. So I think the opportunity to have the app won't be affected that much. It's funny that the man buying TikTok, Oracle, Larry Ellison, is Trump's friend. And so it's like the app that was giving him kind of some problems is now going to be bought by his homie, which probably makes him feel good in a sense. Like now it's like he's got it, and then yes, initially I would be like, yeah, good for everyone, good riddance. But you know what? It impacts so many people in such a positive way that I think to strip someone of their daily habit, whether it's good or overused or whatever, I think it's very invasive at this point. It's such a big part of pop culture. It's a big part of people's days. Yes, is their algorithm a little too rigid for me? Because I was posting 3 times a day, every day, and I did build a following. But it's just you can't sustain that, and then so I don't like that idea of really trapping people into producing content like that. I think it should be more friendly. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be banned, and I don't think it should be banned. And you know what? Charlie is so successful. I just want to see her keep winning. We'll have you. We'll have you, Jason. I never had one. No, but yes, not personally, but collectively to share the info about 300 million Americans that all, you know what I'm saying? Like that, but that's the idea of technology in general. Technology in general is manipulating our behavior, and that's the problem. You know, it started as just a tool. Yeah.
Right. It is that yeah that is, I mean, honestly, a large part of my changing my habits in quarantine, if you will, was because I was noticing that my screen time was going up, and a lot of that screen time I know was spent on social media. But conversely, I do think that not only TikTok but all of our technology has a certain spy element. I mean, they are harboring. Like, I mean, if you've seen the Social Dilemma on Netflix, you really get an in-depth look how invasive and how intrusive social media is. But that right, it's not just TikTok and it's not just China, but I do feel like there should be gradual steps that help us make ourselves more protected. I mean, I feel like everything is out there against the wall now, so how you can't really unring the bell. But if there are ways to gradually protect ourselves and make ourselves be less exposed, I'm all for that. But to completely ban an app just cold turkey, I feel like that's an invasion of our rights as Americans.
You know, or whatever. It's like we have this. This is it for now. Let's just rock out with it. It's already here. You know, we already went through the whole ingestation period, and now it's here, and let it ride.
And Selling Sunset have been the breakout hits of Netflix of 2020. Did you guys see it? Well, what's the on what 50, on what percent of the 50 are you agreeing? So good. Well, what's not dope is that one of its stars, Jerry Harris, was arrested this week for on account of child pornography. This shook the internet because Cher was so beloved, and Jerry was a beloved character or beloved cast member on Cheer. Now, allegedly, he had been in talks with a person that they're saying is known as Minor One for about a year and a half, who is well underage and was propositioning him for pictures, sending pictures back and forth, uh, inappropriate conversations, and that all came to a head. I'm sorry, I can't even talk. I apologize, you guys. The FBI raided his home earlier this week, so this has been crazy, crazy, and the conversation that people are having, of course, because it's all alleged, right? You're innocent until proven guilty. Is how could Jerry do this? But the thing is that there isn't a face of this type of behavior. I mean, it goes on. It happens daily. It's just now we have someone that is in the public eye that was allegedly caught.
like any of it. But I appreciate, Jason, what you said about how this kind of behavior doesn't have a face. I feel like growing up, we were taught that child molesters and bad people were driving white vans and they would pull over on the side of the road and swoop you in. And the older you get, the more you really have an understanding that demons and devils and bad people come in all shapes, sizes, and from all professions. So I hope that, especially the young kids who enjoy cheer, can learn from this, that you always trust the guy with the big smile and like the jovial personality. So I hope that parents take this as a learning moment to teach their kids that anyone in your community could be a demon in your life. And I'm not really sure what Netflix has done so far to get out in front of the story, if they even have. But I think it's very imperative that they make a statement soon. Even though it's still alleged, I think they have to do like Subway did with Jared. Make a statement fast. You have to backtrack. I'd rather you be loud and wrong to defend the sanctity of children against pedophilia than to be silent while all this is playing out and we're all waiting for you to say something.
Well, my dream of season 2 is shattered because I would have loved to see Ladarius and Jerry living together running a cheer school. Like Ladarius runs it, Jerry's sort of his like fun assistant type, and they live together, and like that could have been the whole show. That would have been amazing. That's not gonna happen now. I'm very sad for a couple reasons. Jerry was such a big light, such a joy for all of us. The fact that this all comes out is very sad and disappointing. But I have compassion for Jerry, I really do, and I have compassion for all of us because it's just another example of us sort of like buying into someone and then finding these things out. But I will say it's like, yes, that shit is fucked up. He should not be doing that. I can't even comment more about who Jerry is as a person, but I would like to think, I mean, the fact that he was on the show, living so brightly, living such a good life, and not like thinking about all that stuff, even like there had to be a disconnect there because if you're going to be in the public eye in that way and know you've participated in stuff that potentially could get you in trouble in a very big way, to see him like live so purely on screen, to me, I feel like that might be his real personality. And he's done some fucked up shit that needs to be changed and worked on and something. And I just really feel bad because it's just not a good look at all. Like just soliciting pictures in general is questionable. And now minors, like I just wish he didn't do it. Sorry, yes. Let me jump in. Yes, and that's what's really, I think, the messed up portion. It's he was like doing it like at cheer camp, like cheer.
That's what predators do, though. Like and again, like I want to say that all this currently is alleged, and while I do think that, like, my whole thing is people deserve grace, people deserve an opportunity to correct their wrongs and become better citizens and get past like their past behavior that was bad. I have a little less sympathy, empathy, compassion for adults who prey on children. And whether it's Jerry or Jared or, the guy next door who you don't know molest children, I feel that I feel like there's a special place in hell when you prey on kids, because not only do you steal their youth, you steal their ability to grow into adults with an innocent perspective on relationships and on dealing with adults. So I don't have compassion. If Jerry's guilty, I don't have compassion for him. I hope he gets the help that he needs, but I don't have compassion for a pedophile. You know?
I just had this conversation earlier, and this is why I think sex ed needs to be improved, because like growing up, like you think like rape is just like a criminal in an alley, like a scary guy with like a knife in an alley. I don't know the facts. That's probably like 1% of that. It's so nuanced that it happens like every day. Like Jerry, for example, it's like Jerry in his head, he probably doesn't think he's a criminal. He's probably just like fucking around, excuse my language, doing some stupid shit that he probably shouldn't be doing. But in his head, he's not thinking this is some like massive crime. And then all of a sudden, look what it turns into. I think that happens for anybody. And I think men in general need to be educated about like what sexual assault or harassment actually is. Well, from what I saw, Netflix is they were just said they're just as shocked as everyone, and they're going to look into it. There's no big statement, but yeah.
I am continually learning lessons about myself during this time of, I like to call it this period of pause. At the beginning, for me, I was go, go, go. Let me make sure I achieve every dream I've ever written down, every goal. Let me make sure I reach it. And I still have that momentum in a sense, but probably 3 months into it, I had to take a step back and say, look, Erica, self care is as important as calling that producer that you're hoping to work with or sending that you've been putting off. So I can say that I've really had a good balance now. Beginning, I was like, go, 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 go. And I was, I was on other shows and my own platform talking about how I didn't want to look back on this time and say, dang, I really did not take advantage of this much food. Like that's how I was at the beginning. And I can look back and say, I've done a lot of things during this pause that I might not have accomplished otherwise. But I can also say, I realized how some of that go, go, go behavior was becoming detrimental to my mental health and to my emotional health. And so now I have a good balance. I'm learning, I'm learning balance. Yeah. Yes. Listen, this is my quarantine setup. I mean, the bookshelves, like, I mean, the books existed before quarantine, but the shelving. Well, I actually had read all of these for the most part, but the shelves, I didn't have those shelves before quarantine. But I've been doing so much stuff like this. I was like, let me get myself a little set together. So it's made me be more creative too, Jason. You know,
Like just chilling and relax. Like you don't always have to be doing something. You don't always have to be going. So I think in general, as a society, I think we're taking that to heart. And I think when we get back to 100%, maybe we get back to like 85%. Maybe that's our new 100. We don't always have to be out and doing something, and it's okay to not be. For me personally, creatively, it's been rewarding. The idea of sort of knowing that things have stopped. You're not like reaching to be part of things, and you're sort of just like turning within and doing what you can to make yourself happy. And by doing that, there's positive outcomes. So that's been really cool. Not worrying about what's out there, because there is nothing out there and you're just doing you. But yes, in general, I'm not someone that needs to be around people. So a lot of that was a little difficult, but I think it's something that it brought us all together. I love that about quarantine. I love that whenever anything that happens, it's like a big deal. Like, oh, we're at the beach. Like, just everything is a big deal this year. So that's been really fun. And overall, I think we're heading in the right direction, and we'll be back very shortly.
sports rants on a daily basis at Erica Renee D. I'm crazy. I'm crazy about my football and my basketball. At Erica Renee D. Follow me, Twitter, Instagram.
Great. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Dylan Landon Live. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Oh, so did we just hang up? Okay. Bye, Erica. See you next time. Later. Bye.